That evening, Jillian and her father arrived inside the gallery wearing their recommended formal wear. The two of them spotted Mrs. Avaletta talking to an art critic that had flew in from Paris to see her work. As Jillian's mother spotted the two of them, she waved with her left hand, not the right, which always meant to talk to her telepathically. Jillian listened in as her father thought to her mother. "What's going on? This guy is a stonewall. Does he like my work? Is he interested in seeing paintings or sculpture? Does he have things he likes to talk about? I really want this to go well. What can I do to make this guy like my work?" her mother thought. "He thinks your work is genius, but he's trying to get a feel for the real you. His stonewalling is a tactic to make you nervous, make you lose your poise. He thinks a real artist should be gracious under any pressure. It's a character test," Mr. Zavaleta thought to his wife. "May I?" asked Jillian, looking at her father. "Of course," he said, nodding. "Mom, tell him you were largely influenced by French Impressionism, especially from a trip to Paris your mother took you on when you were a little girl, summer of 1988. While there, you visited A.K.A. des Beaux-Arts and saw the most inspiring student art exhibit," Jillian thought to her mother. She then marched into the kitchen and pantry area, where the waiters and chefs were making hors d'oeuvres and pouring wine. She asked one of the chefs for something special. Jillian came out of the kitchen just as her mother was finishing up saying what she had told her to say. The old man from Paris was smiling and animated. "In 1988, I was working as an instructor at A.K.A. des Beaux-Arts. That was my class that put the paintings in the gallery that you saw," said the French art critic. He was more than happy to start reminiscing about the great students he had and what a life-affirming year that was. It was about then that a waiter from the back came forward with a selection of vintage cheeses and made a straight line for Mrs. Zavaleta and the art critic. Jillian watched as the critic, whose sour face was now gone, gushed about how this certain cheese was his favorite. "He is absolutely eating out of her hand. Your mother is going to have to raise your allowance," Jillian's father told her. "I like being able to help. So what do we do for the next 3 hours?" Jillian asked as she hugged her father. He hugged back and said, "We could always raid the kitchen." They both smiled. On the ride home, they talked about how well the art exhibit went and how glad Mother was that the show was a success. Father reminded her that all her art shows are successes. It was late by the time they approached the gated estate, and they were exhausted. Father slowed the car a little earlier than normal. It was then Jillian also sensed it. There was a man in a suit waiting for them by the gate. Father had already used his power to read his intentions and was not afraid of him. "Can I help you with something?" asked Mr. Zavaleta. "Yes, I would like to give this to your daughter, and call me back after you've had time to consider its contents," said the man as he handed Father an envelope and smiled at everyone in the car. Inside the house, they sat in the first room that they entered, the great room. Father handed the letter to Mother and let her read it aloud. Once Mother finished reading the letter, the three sat stunned. "How can I be invited to Alpha Academy? My powers have never been tested, have they? How can they know if I'm right for this?" Jillian spoke out loud to both her parents. "When I was young, back in Spain, far before I met your mother, I was placed in an apprenticeship under another hero. This was back before the academies or the Coalition's War or the Heroes Union. A few months ago, someone I knew back then came to ask some questions about you," her father said. Jillian and her mother could not have been more surprised if he had said he was a great spy on a mission to save the world. "She asked me how your powers had progressed. I told her honestly. You have to understand that I know and trust this person. Years ago, I saw her save countless lives," he said, and then paused. "I don't know if this is something you want, but even if you don't, I wanted you to know that you were good enough for anything." "Why didn't you tell me?" Mother said. "I wasn't sure an invitation would come. Also, in that line of work, you're trained to keep secrets," her father said. He looked at Mother apologetically, and she seemed to understand. "My father was a hero," Mother said bluntly. Jillian's eyes opened wide. Mother could never keep a secret. How did she not know this? "He helped keep peace and made people see each other differently. I understand," Mother said as she looked at Father. Jillian thought she had just stepped into a different world and everyone was replaced. "How do I even make a decision like this?" she asked. "Think to yourself, what kind of life do you want? Do you want a big house, peace, children, comfort, and security? Or do you want adventure, risk, hardship, and the real possibility of danger?" Father asked. After some thought, Jillian spoke to her father. "What was the thing that you liked most about being a hero?" "I was only a hero for a few years, But the thing that was the best was knowing. I was involved in things others could only dream about. I knew things others could never know. I knew what was really happening in the world and who was really good and evil. I made a difference in the outcome of many things. After some more talking, her father and mother told her to sleep on it and think more in the morning. Whenever she came to a decision was fine with them. The next morning, they all sat at breakfast. During breakfast, Jillian finally expressed her feelings. "Two roads diverge in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both." Jillian paused as the meaning of the quote sunk in. "How many people get to go to this academy?" "Less than 50 are invited every 3 years," her father said warmly. "I want the path less traveled. I want to go," Jillian said firmly. Mother's eyes welled up, and she proudly said, "Well, this calls for a celebration. My little girl is going to be a superheroine."